Most people assume you stay home because you dislike being around people. The truth is often less obvious and far more uncomfortable. You may simply be avoiding the invisible work that starts long before you ever leave the house. A message appears on your phone around 6 in the evening. Someone invites you out. You read it immediately. Then you put the phone down without replying. Not because you're busy, not because you dislike the person. The reply should take 3 seconds. Yet 20 minutes later, you still haven't answered. Part of you knows the invitation is harmless. Another part already feels tired. Not from the event itself, but from everything attached to it. Getting ready, keeping conversations moving, reading the room, staying engaged. Being the exact version of yourself other people expect to meet. Most people think this feeling means you're antisocial. Others call it introversion and stop there. But neither explanation gets to the real reason. Because what drains many people isn't human connection itself. It's the constant effort of managing themselves around other people. If you've ever felt exhausted before an event even started, stay with me. You may recognize more of yourself in this than you expect. Because the decision to stay home usually doesn't happen when you say no. It starts much earlier. The very moment you read the message. The phone screen lights up and a text message appears. You glance at it. It's just a harmless, casual invitation. But you don't reply. You place the phone face down on the table and you walk away for a minute, just to get some space. Most people think the decision to say no happens when you actually send the reply. But for you, the choice was already made the exact second you read those words. In reality, you often decide not to go long before your conscious mind even forms the word no. The moment that message pops up, your brain instantly triggers a simulation, automatically visualizing everything attached to the event. It's not picturing the event itself. It's calculating the sheer energy and effort required to get there. You feel drained and exhausted before anything has even happened. A single line of thought takes over your mind. I don't want all the extra baggage that comes with this. Not yet. You realize you're not avoiding the invitation, and you don't dislike the person who sent it. You're simply reacting to the preview that your mind just forced you to watch. And that preview always carries far more weight than anyone else will ever realize. When you picture an invitation, you don't just see a place or a time. Your mind automatically generates a sequence of events. You imagine arriving, greeting people, finding a spot to stand, starting conversations, and keeping them alive. Most people count hours. Your brain counts effort. That's the difference. Without you even realizing it, your brain is calculating social maintenance tasks. This is the invisible labor that nobody else accounts for. And because of that, a simple, casual gathering suddenly starts feeling incredibly expensive. A quiet question takes root in your mind. Why does this already feel like work? The exhaustion starts before the event even begins. But that still doesn't fully explain why some people feel this heavy weight so much more intensely than others. Look at where you are. You're still sitting right there on your couch, yet your mind is already flooded with noise, faces, conversations, and decisions. The body reacts to expectations almost as strongly as it does to actual events. Your brain's prediction systems activate long before real-world exposure. It quietly rehearses every future demand. Because of this, you are consuming and burning through energy during imagination alone. You haven't even left the house yet, nothing happened. Your fatigue is simply arriving long before reality does. The real question is, where this psychological pattern learned to become so incredibly strong. Think back to the early days of your childhood. A child walks into an empty house, and the keys hit the table. No one is there to ask about how the day went. Hours of solitude stretch out ahead. Many would call this loneliness, but this is where the brain learns self-regulation without constant outside input. A single line of thought takes root. I'll figure it out myself. What felt completely normal back then is still shaping your choices today. Long periods of early self-reliance make solitude feel natural later in life, rather than lonely. Silence stayed. Being alone wasn't always the problem. Sometimes it was the solution, and the brain always remembers the solutions that actually worked. Sometimes the root of all that exhaustion comes down to one thing: unpredictability. Imagine an environment where plans constantly change, moods shift without warning, and the rules keep moving. Nothing feels solid or stable. When you grow up around that, your nervous system automatically learns to prioritize predictability. Most social gatherings look casual from the outside, but your brain sees nothing but uncertainty. This is why social environments feel so incredibly draining. They contain too many variables that you cannot manage. A constant quiet thought repeats in your mind: I never know how this is going to go. Too many variables. You aren't chasing comfort. You're simply protecting predictability. And that is when the ultimate realization arrives: to change everything. Let's be honest with yourself. Maybe you don't dislike people at all. What you actually dislike is performing around them. Think about the moments when someone tells a weak joke and you laugh anyway, or when someone asks how you've been and you quickly give the expected, polite answer. This continuous self-monitoring creates a massive cognitive load for your mind. What if the problem was never socializing? What if the real problem was acting? That's different. You don't hate people. You just hate the version of yourself that you feel forced to manage around them. And once you notice that, everything else finally starts making sense. Behind your deep exhaustion lies another hidden reason. You are simply too perceptive. Think about the moments when a face changes slightly, a tone shifts, or someone pauses for just half a second too long. Others might miss it, but you notice instantly. Your nervous system continuously tracks and analyzes emotional signals outside your awareness. The truth is, not everyone is processing the same massive amount of information as you. You saw it. This intense focus keeps your mind running at full speed, even during the most casual interactions. High awareness is deeply useful. It is also incredibly expensive. And this is what leads to a decision that most people completely misunderstand. There is a major paradox that few people notice. Sometimes the people who socialize the least understand socializing the best. You can easily show up when it's necessary. You can network, charm a room, and make a great impression. And then you leave. You could. The truth is, competence reduces the need for constant participation. Yet, others often mistake your silence for inability or shyness. They don't understand that the real reason is simply selectivity. Capability and desire are not the same thing. The question was never whether you can do it. The question is it worth it? And that question becomes much harder to ignore as you get older. And here is the truth that most people try to avoid admitting. Imagine 3 hours passing. You return home and realize absolutely nothing meaningful happened. Your brain is constantly comparing your emotional investment against the actual return. And when interactions stop providing enough value, you become increasingly selective about where your energy goes. A single thought takes over. That took far more than it gave. Enough. You have finally stopped confusing empty activity with real connection. Most interactions don't exhaust you because they are difficult. They exhaust you because they are empty. And once you see that, your entire story changes. Solitude only becomes truly healthy when it is a conscious, intentional choice, rather than an automatic reaction. You choose to stay home, not out of fear and not out of habit. You stay home simply because you prefer it. Your energy will always follow meaning. Some people around you may never understand this choice, but a clear, quiet thought takes root in your mind. I don't need to accept every invitation. The goal was never to avoid people. The goal was to stop abandoning yourself. That's enough. A closed door can be a healthy boundary, not a retreat. Maybe staying home was never the important part of the story. Maybe the real story is that you became deeply careful about where your attention goes. At some point, you stopped treating every invitation as equally valuable. You started noticing the clear difference between connection and participation. One leaves you feeling fuller. The other simply takes up the evening. Some people collect experiences. Others collect energy. And you are probably the type who notices the difference. Not every closed door is avoidance. Sometimes it is selection. I'm curious about something. What's the last invitation you declined? Not because you were afraid to go, but because you knew it wouldn't give back what it asked from you. Leave it in the comments. If these videos help you put words to things you felt for years but never fully explained, consider subscribing. There are more conversations like this ahead. Later tonight, if your phone lights up and you hesitate before answering, pay attention to that moment. The answer might have less to do with other people than you think, and far more to do with what your energy already knows.